Stop chasing your dream team and make them beg to work for you instead. As a solopreneur, I understand the struggles that come with building a team, whether it's finding the right person to hire or feeling dissatisfied with your team or letting people or watching people go. The entire process can feel super frustrating. But today's guest, Dr. Angela Lauria, has created a way to draw the right team members into your business, and she's here to share her secrets to make them beg to work for you. Tune in and learn why you should never chase people to hire, how the hiring process is similar to dating, the massive difference between hiring staff and building a team, why you need to get clear on your brand values and mission prior to hiring, the importance of trusting your team, even if it means letting them fuck shit up, why money doesn't solve your problems, and why you need to love your team as much as you love your clients. I'm telling you, this is a jam-packed episode. Now, Dr. Angela E. Lauria is the founder of the Author Incubator and creator of the Difference Process for writing a book that matters. In 2018, the Author Incubator was ranked number 275 on the Inc. 500 fastest growing companies and number 87 on Entrepreneur Magazine's Entrepreneur 360. Dr. Angela won the Stevie Awards Coach Mentor of the Year Award, and her program, The Author's Way, was named Coaching Program of the Year and was named by Entrepreneur Magazine as one of the top 10 most inspiring entrepreneurs to watch. She was one of only 2 women on the list. Dr. Angela has been helping people free their inner author since 1994. She has helped over 1,000 authors in transformation write, publish, and promote their books. Her clients have been seen everywhere from Vanity Fair to O Magazine to the Today Show, and their books have been responsible for over $100 million in cumulative revenue. She has a BA and an MA in journalism and media affairs from the George Washington University and a PhD in communications from the European Graduate School. Angela is the author of multiple books, and she lives at the Author Castle. How amazing is that? In McLean, Virginia, with her son Jesse and her castle cat princesses Feathers and Foxy McFuzzbucket. Now, if you want a free copy of her newest book, Make 'em Beg to Work for You, head to www.theauthorincubator.com/the-library. This link will be in the show notes along with a ton of other links. Now, if you are a conscious thought leader who is seeking a coach and mentor to support you in elevating your presence, mission, and movement in 2020, and you're ready to dive deeper into your inner work, let's talk. I have shifted things up in my business. I am looking for 2 one-on-one clients in 2020. That's it. And we start in January. 10 months, you and me working closely together to bring your message into the spotlight. If that sounds like something you are ready to commit to, apply today at rubyfremon.com/let's talk. And finally, if you dig this podcast, stay in the loop by signing up for my weekly emails at rubyfremon.com/subscribe. If you're listening, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast, please, and thank you. And now it's time to learn how to make them beg to work for you with Dr. Angela. Hey, thought leaders, I am back with a very, very special guest, a guest who has her own castle. So this is exciting. Angela and I actually connected a few years back. We were just trying to figure out how many years ago it was, but it feels like it was maybe 3 years ago. And it's really amazing to be able to reconnect today and to have her on the podcast because so much has happened since we last spoke. So Angela, welcome to today's Thought Leader. I am so excited to have you, and I know you have a ton of wisdom to drop to the audience today.
I am so excited to be here. And I just had a flash of that first conversation. And it was 3 years ago because it was actually almost 4. I had just moved into said castle. And I remember there was no furniture when I was talking to you. I was walking around an empty, echoey room and I had a folding chair.
Oh, okay.
interrogation style in what is now the most amazing library, but it was a big empty room.
Yeah. Well, it's great to reconnect, and you have a new book out, which is really exciting.
I do my fifth, and it's actually the third in the Make 'em Beg series.
Mm.
So I have a theory that the prize never chases.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you recognize in the ways that you're a prize, in the ways that you being in someone else's life benefits them, then people will come to you. And it's sort of a feminine leadership practice of being able to receive instead of always pushing.
Mm.
So this newest one is called Make 'em Beg to Work for You, and it's about building an amazing team of people helping you create your dreams. So whether they're freelancers or someone to help take care of your kids or a full-time business manager, as you grow, you need more help. And how do you do that in a way that's really fulfilling and not
Mhm.
energy zapping?
Yeah, I love that. And I love that Make 'em Beg for You is a series. I was wondering about that because it's the second book, and now I'm really excited to know what the third book's going to be. But you said the prize never chases. And for a second, I thought we were about to dive into dating. But there's like an alignment there between what you're sharing and your view on hiring people and building a team and relationship building.
Yeah, totally. And like the whole thing is building a team is a lot like dating. Like when you start dating someone, they're deciding whether or not to spend a lot of their time with you, probably
Hmm.
something like 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
Like if you really get there and you're hanging out 3 or 4 nights a week and maybe eventually you live together, you're probably spending 40 hours together. Well, when you're thinking about hiring someone, they're thinking about spending 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 hours with you.
Hmm.
Really does need to be a courtship process. We do have to really, it's a lot of those same things they would say in dating. Identify your values, identify
Hmm.
what you're looking for in someone. But I think when we're hiring, a lot of times we just feel desperate and we're like, there's so much work, or I don't know how to build a website. Let me just hire someone.
Yeah.
And we're not being as careful as we would be with anyone else we were choosing to spend a whole bunch of time with and put our dreams in their hands.
Right. And that's a good way to position it too, putting our dreams in their hands, because you're right. So many of us, as solopreneurs or entrepreneurs, the leaders who are listening, we don't really think of hiring until there's like this absolute necessity. And then it feels like crunch time. And then you've got all this pressure that you're putting on yourself. You're rushing to find someone. You're probably looking in all the wrong places. And, maybe that grungy bar.
Yeah, exactly.
Desperation hits, and you hire without doing your absolute due diligence, but also without even recognizing. I'm just going to go back in time to the first time I hired a VA, and I wasn't even super clear on what I needed support with. I was just at a point in my business where I was like, holy shit, I need support. Like I need someone to help me, and I don't know exactly what they're going to help me with, but I need someone to help me. And that's what made it super difficult for me to find the right VA at that time, um, because I wasn't clear.
Totally, 100%. And then, like, we're so funny because we expect the VA to be clear on what we need. We're like,
Yes.
you work with lots of entrepreneurs. What should I be giving you to do?
Right. You just called me out. So thank you.
Yeah.
That was me back then, and it wasn't until I really understood, like, what are the things that I just don't need to be doing? What are the things that are actually my gifts that no one else can do in my business? And there's this chapter in your book where you talk about the task list. Task. Why is that so hard to say?
List of tasks.
List. That even that. A
List.
task list. Share what that's all about with our audience.
Yeah, there's one of the steps in the Make 'em Beg to Work for You process is about creating an org chart in advance. And it works like a vision board. So for thought leaders
Ooh,
that also like a little law of attraction, we
yes.
always like think of vision boards as like, pictures of us in a pretty dress or pictures of the house we're going to buy. But my nerdy vision boards often look like an org chart. So you
Right.
actually just do your org chart. It's your vision board for your business.
Mm-hmm.
And if everything were going well, let's say it was 3 years from now or 1 year
Mm-hmm.
from now or 5 years from now, what would your org chart look like? Who would you hire? What would their roles be?
Mm-hmm.
What would these people be doing? Like, we want to grow our business, but we don't want to think about where we're growing to. We just want to think like bigger, better, more.
Mm-hmm.
But by making it specific, it's this great law of attraction tool where if you get
Right.
really specific about what you're manifesting and why, it becomes inevitable. So
Mm-hmm.
I take it to the next step and I say, once we've got this vision board of who's coming in the next
Mm-hmm.
3 years, who's coming to support me, and we're not going to go hire these people until we have the revenue behind
Right.
it, right? I'm not saying let's be frivolous and just throw money at people,
Mm-hmm.
but like, oh, in 3 years, when I'm at 3 million, I probably want a COO. Like in a year, when I'm at a million, I really would like someone to run all of my sales and marketing. And they probably need an ad buyer under them and an appointment setter.
Mm-hmm.
Once we start doing that and thinking about what will my organization look like, then for each of those roles, you can write a job description.
Mm-hmm.
The way I do this is I start with every single thing I'm doing.
Right.
And then I give all of those things, and you do like a 1 week time study, look at your sent
Right.
email, like try and
Yeah,
identify.
because everything we're doing, that's a lot of stuff. And I think we
It's,
take for granted how much we do.
and it's such random shit because at
Yeah.
one point you're doing copywriting, even if it's just editing something somebody else wrote.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're doing content creation because you just put up an Instagram post and you're
Right.
doing all of that. And then you're actually coaching someone. And
Mm-hmm.
then, by the way, there's a sales call from the sales call.
Yeah.
So we're doing all these different jobs. There's so many different jobs that we're taking on and not
Yes.
identifying. So
Totally.
without even hiring someone, write down the list of what you're doing and then give yourself a grade. If
Mm-hmm.
you are the only one who should be doing it, give yourself an A. If
Mm-hmm.
you do a good job, but you know there's someone out there who could do better, give
Mm-hmm.
yourself a B. If you do a passable job, like, they're like, for me with event management,
Right.
I can get the food out there, but I always talk about how my events, I went to Costco
Mm-hmm.
and I would get Doritos and Snapple and pre-made sandwiches from Costco. Like, probably could do better.
Yeah.
Probably not my zone of genius. I like
Mhm.
gave myself a C.
Mm.
People ate. They
Right.
didn't walk out of my event passing out or something trying to
Mm-hmm.
get food, but not the healthiest food, not the best way to keep people's brains engaged in your
Right.
event. Okay, fine. And then anything that you really suck at, like if you don't have enough sales or you haven't gotten your taxes paid, and I know there are some of you out there who haven't gotten your taxes done for a couple of years, you're getting an F. Newsflash. Start by making a job description, or sometimes multiple, for
Mm-hmm.
anything that's getting a C or an F.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the
Okay.
first jobs you'll hire. You can keep doing the things you get an A and a B on for a
Mm-hmm.
while, but as soon as you can, I want you to hire out anything you're getting a B on.
Got
And
it.
eventually your job description should be only the things you can do that you also get an A on.
Right. Yeah, and that also helps clarify for everyone listening. Sometimes we want to hire something because we think it's going to benefit us, but then we don't realize that that's actually not the thing that's going to alleviate the stress that we're carrying in our businesses, and we actually need this other person to support us. And so the task list, I said it right that time. Task list
Right.
will really help clarify who you need to hire first. And I love that. Now, what about for those listening who are like, oh, I don't know who I need to hire. I just know that I need to hire someone.
Yeah, do it in the future. This is my thing, is like, imagine everything is going well.
Mm.
Everything's going well. You have the sales you want. You have the clients you want. You now know what you're selling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you've got your shit together. Just imagine that without figuring it out what it looks like.
Right.
Assume everything's together and then see what you can see about what you can hire and identify what the biggest gaps are.
Mm-hmm.
So for most of my authors, the first thing, so I work with transformational authors that usually go from maybe $2,000 to $5,000 a month to $10,000 to $50,000 a month with their
Mm-hmm.
book. So they have to start hiring. And
Yeah.
one of the first things I see people hire is sales and marketing. So
Mm-hmm.
either advertising, someone to book their speaking gigs, and then someone to manage the calls and inquiries from people who want to work with them.
Mm-hmm.
So a marketing person and a salesperson, they tend to be first because they're revenue generating.
Right.
When I see people that are hiring someone to help them with social media or content creation and they don't have the revenue yet,
Mm-hmm.
it's usually not a good sign. You
Mm,
gotta do your own content creation until you really have revenue flowing.
yeah.
So that's definitely a place to look. If you're hiring someone for your website and you haven't made $100,000, stop immediately.
Right.
Make at least $100,000 before you do anything paid on your website. Until then, make a free page on your own. Use Wix. Use some sort of free WordPress template. You need 1 or 2 pages on your website. You don't need to hire someone.
Yeah.
Make some money, drive some sales calls, then hire someone to do your website.
Yeah, and those are some of the common, I believe, common misconceptions with entrepreneurs and solopreneurs when they're starting. They think that they need to get the aesthetic all correct, and so they tend to put all their money towards that. But it's like you still don't have the revenue coming in.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I didn't have a website till I was at 1 million.
Take note, listeners, what she
Yeah.
just said.
You can go into the Wayback Machine and you could see some of the janky shit I had up there. And there was like one page, like I built one page that just clicked to my Acuity calendar.
Uh-huh.
So if you went to what should be a website, you just got a link to my calendar. And I was like, I'll just get on the phone with you and explain everything. Because
Right.
I knew anything on a website was going to give people reasons not to sign up, not to talk to me. I knew when people talk to me, they'd be like, oh shit, she has her shit together.
Mm.
But when they looked at my website, it wasn't going to match where I was. So I just wanted to get people on the phone.
Yeah, smart. Again, revenue generating. Smart.
Yeah.
There was an interesting story at the very beginning of your book that I really resonated with your dad and how he runs his business, because I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and my dad is an entrepreneur and has been almost his entire life. And, you know, he and I don't see eye to eye in terms of how you build a team. And he has a team. I have a virtual team. And there are some major differences. And in fact, I think I've learned what not to do from my dad.
Yeah, me too.
So I really resonated with that story, especially the part where your dad used to always say, I don't pay you to think. I don't pay you to think. My dad didn't say that, but his presence spoke it. And then how you shifted it for your team to I pay you to think. And I want to talk a little bit about that, because I think, you know, nowadays there's so many platforms out there that make it really easy for you to hire virtual assistants. You know, you can go online, find people, you can go on Facebook, be like, hey, do you have a VA that's looking for more work? Like there's tons and tons of opportunities out there for you to find people. But the problem lies in, I think, keeping those people and keeping them with your team. And having them in the longevity, because for me, like I want people that are going to stay with me. I don't want to have to keep hiring over and over again and retraining. That's a lot of time and energy.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, this is fun. When my dad read my book, he Facebook messaged me and he's like, you know, what I really needed was a mentor like you to tell me this shit.
Oh, wow.
This is his text to me was, you're smart, kid. Yeah, he said, I'm reading his message right now. He said, you know, one thing that was surprising in your book was where I made a lot of mistakes. You constantly call all your people a team. And I would say maybe 5, 6 times in the book, you said they're a team, they're a team. I never called my people a team. I called them my people, but I should have, and it would have made a big difference. So
Wow.
yeah, it's fun to read his thoughts on it now, because my dad, I'm sure there were coaches when my dad was building his business, but he didn't have a coach. There weren't podcasts.
Right.
There weren't, that many business radio shows. My dad wasn't a reader. He was a welder. So that wasn't going to be it. And so he wasn't hanging out at the golf club getting advice from guys there. He just had to figure it out on his own. And the thing that he found was every time he gave someone work, they would do a shitty job. So if he would tell them exactly how to do it and stand next to them and say, now move your hand an inch to the right, now move it up an inch, they could take 10% of his workload on a project.
Right.
He still mostly did it. He did all the thinking. He did half the execution. Half the time he did the cleanup. So you might be familiar with, you hire someone, they do it wrong, and then you just do it yourself later, and it's more tiring.
Totally.
Right?
I'm a perfectionist, so I get that very well.
Exactly. And he did that for 35 years. He built
Wow.
$5 million business with 20 employees in 35 years. We got to 5 million, I think, in 4 years, and the same number of employees. And it was because I paid people to think. That was the big shift. And I talk about this. The reason I think my dad wasn't willing to figure this out is you have to be willing to risk so much heartbreak to do this work. To really pay someone to think. You're giving them your baby. Like, imagine paying someone to raise your baby. Or you see like moms sending their kids to daycare for the first time or kindergarten for the first time and like weeping for a week, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's like. You have to really trust them, and they're going to fuck up, and you have to give it to them anyway and let them fuck up and not save them from it.
Yeah.
Really, really, really hard to do. And for me, it's, my dad noticed. I refer to them as my team.
Yeah.
But it's not just about what you call them. It's not about the language. I am now, years later, 3 years later, I am now seeing my team come up with ideas that are much better than mine. Much better than mine. It freaked me out. It happened last week. And I was like, we do this thing. We give all of our authors that sign up for us, we make them book covers. And I invented this process that I used to manage the cover designers. I actually never did the design, but I managed the cover designer. They were like freelancers from Fiverr or whatever. And I would tell them what to do, and I'd get the designs. Now we have 3 full-time designers on staff. But what we always did was they would set up their book for pre-order. We'd use a temporary cover. And then after the book was edited, we would have time to go back and forth with them and give them their final cover. And we've done it that way since the beginning. I never even questioned it. But a lot of times the authors don't like the temporary covers.
Right.
One of my team members last week was like, here's how we could put the covers for the pre-order. And in like a day, we had changed the whole system. It's such a better client experience. My brain didn't even think about it. I have so many other problems.
Yeah.
A better client experience. It's a better staff experience. It's like totally more streamlined. And it did not come anywhere from my head.
Right. And if you were still, if you were doing what your dad did, which is like, well, I don't pay you to think mentality in your business, that would have never had happened.
She wouldn't have been empowered to come up with it.
Right.
She wouldn't, this is sad. She's super smart and she cares a lot. There wouldn't have been space for her to care about it. You have to hold space for the people you want to work with you.
Yeah.
Like step into caring about your shit as much as they would care about their shit.
Yep. Yeah, it's true. And I think especially for the people that we work with, because we have a very similar audience, these are purpose-driven, heart-centered people, human beings who have devoted their life to service. and they have some sort of a mission that has been birthed from their story, from their personal story, from their heartbreak, from their trauma, from their pain, from their wounds. And so they're really, really passionate about this baby creation that they've just put out into the world. And so when they want to hire or bring someone on, it can be so hard to let go of the reins. And I'm just going to speak for myself here because I know a lot of people can relate. I am a perfectionist. I'm a recovering perfectionist. And I've also witnessed, had the gift of witnessing my dad and his inability to let go of control. And so he was a fantastic mirror for me my entire life and still is. And so I can notice all the ways where I want to like hold on to the reins and not let shit go. And with my current VA, who is now my PR and communications manager, she and I have been together for 2.5 years. And she's witnessed this whole like letting go process of sometimes I'll let something go and be like, let me take it back. Wait, I think I want to give this to you. Wait, I don't know. And she just was super patient with me. And now when I let things go, she'll actually applaud me and say, I'm so proud of you for letting go of this. I know how hard it is. And that's not to say that she does everything perfectly the first time, but I trust her. And now there's so many times when she'll ask me a question via text and I'll be like, oh no, I trust you.
Yeah.
And the words
Isn't
like come out.
So cool. I trust
amazing.
I trust you come up with, it's going to be as good or better than mine. So we'll
right.
That is the most amazing feeling.
It really is. Feeling. And like, I want that. I want more, please. Like, I would like more of that. And every time I want to bring someone onto the team, I just want to lead with that, lead with trust. So
I thought the way to get that was pay people more money.
Right.
It is not. I was like, when I have more money and I can pay for the good people that are expensive, then they'll care. Nope.
No.
It is not about the money.
I have a story about that. My video editor who edits all of my videos, I found him on Instagram because he shared one of my quotes because he created an image and I liked the aesthetic of the image. And so I reached out to him and I said, thank you so much for sharing this. I love this design. Like, where can I see more of your work? And he sent me a few links and I looked, and he doesn't do this for people. He has a whole other thing that he's doing and pursuing. But when I had reached out to him, he also said to me, he's like, wow, I'm so honored. I feel so honored that I'm actually talking to you. I love your work. I love your mission. I love your message.
Make him back to work for you.
Right. And so we got on a Zoom call and I got to know him, and he lives in India, and he didn't know that I actually have I'm Indian, I'm Punjabi. And so when he knew that, he fell more in love with like the work that I was doing. And so I saw how he was super aligned with my mission and my message, and how he said it like, I want to support you in bringing this out to people. And that's when I was like, can I hire you? Like, I know you don't do this for people, but can I hire you? And he was so ecstatic. And he is like my favorite. He's the second person on my team, and it was amazing. But that was my first experience of gravitating towards someone simply because of their passion towards what I do.
Yeah.
And that was really eye-opening for me. And you talk about this in the book too. In getting really clear on your like values and your mission, and finding people who align with that. And I think enough people, especially in the entrepreneurial space, we don't do that, especially when we're trying to hire virtual people. We're like, oh, whatever, like I just need a VA. But it makes such a difference when they align with what you stand for. It makes the biggest difference.
Yeah. The secret of make them beg to work for you is be awesome.
Is what?
Be awesome.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Right? Like, that's the secret. And one of the other books in my series is Make 'em Beg to Publish Your Book.
Yeah.
And the secret to that is be awesome. I like talk about Beyonce has no trouble getting people to beg to publish her book. Any publisher would take Beyonce's book. So we often want the result, having an amazing team, without doing the work of even identifying what would being someone worthy of someone begging to work for you, what would that be? Like, there are a lot of people who would beg to work at Google or beg to work at Facebook or beg to work at Amazon. Why?
Yeah.
Why would somebody beg to work there? Because they're fucking awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe not for everyone, but for the person who wants to work there, they think they're awesome. So identify who's the person you would want to think you're awesome, your company is awesome.
Mhm.
And then what would make them beg to work for you? Being aligned with your mission, being aligned with your beliefs, knowing that every day working on your dream was also making their dream come true. That means you got to know what that stuff is. Most
Yeah.
people are like, I'm going to figure that out right after I hire someone and get my website done. Then I'll figure out who I am. It's
Right.
not the order of events.
Yeah. Yeah. And with the alignment piece, I want to talk about their dreams, but I want to first address something that you shared in the book about getting political. You know, especially right now at this juncture that we find ourselves in, where more and more people are finding their voices because of the movements that have been taking place. Things are shifting in the paradigm of business.
I think so.
Like, people are now not afraid of, well, not everyone, but there are people who are not afraid of sharing their political views online. And I know that you have Black Lives Matter, I think you said, on every single page of your website. Is that right?
We do, yeah.
Yeah. And why did you choose to do that?
So social justice is really important to me personally and always has been. I was protesting apartheid when I was 13. I skipped school in 8th grade to go to a protest that Bishop Desmond Tutu was going to be at.
Oh, wow.
My very first political campaign was in 1988. I was 15 and I was the youth ambassador for Jesse Jackson's Rainbow Coalition campaign.
Wow.
My son is actually named after Jesse Jackson. And it's always been a really important part of who I am. And what would be the purpose of having a business if it wasn't there to reflect your values?
Yeah.
And like, maybe your values are just money, but to me, the reason I've always wanted to have lots of money is, the way I always say this is, someone had to fund the Underground Railroad. Someone has to fund the important missions and movements. And I just always wanted to have enough money in a bank account that if somebody needed to escape oppression somewhere, I could get a phone call, transfer some money, and get someone out. I'm like, someone has to have that money. George Soros isn't going to be around forever. Who else? Who better but me? Right. And so if that's my reason for having a business, other people share those goals and maybe don't have the same time or skills or priorities right now to go and build the business that I can build. So if I can get people on my team who are aligned with what I'm going to use the money for, right, then their efforts, this is how I actually pay people to think, their efforts are self-serving. Right. Everyone's always tuned into What's in It for Me radio, right? Totally. We know that with marketing, but we somehow forget it when it comes to hiring. But I think of the hiring process a lot like a marketing process, where I'm basically identifying what is the personal payoff for you if you were to take this job, and not just take it, but take it and stay in it for 3, 5, 10 years. Right. What would you have to get to make it worth it? It can't just be a paycheck, especially with millennials. This is how I think millennials are saving the world. This is, I think, their biggest contribution. Millennials are like, you can pay me any amount of money. I'm not giving you 50 hours a week of my life for something I don't believe in. Yep. It's true. I might show up, I might take a paycheck for a while, but I'm going to fucking phone that in and be figuring out my purpose in the meantime. I'll take your money and go pay for a coach to help me figure out what your passion is. I'll take your money and I'll quit 6 months later and I'll go to India to a festival, Tantra festival. Like, they're like, fuck you and your thing. Yeah, like, totally. My life is valuable. Take your money for a while. And so what I hear, I'm 46, so I hear this from Gen Xers a lot, is like, but millennials, like, they're so flaky and they're not committed and they don't work hard. I'm like, oh, they're committed. You know what they're committed to? They're committed to living their purpose.
Yep.
They're
They're committed to
to
meaning.
not having a job where they have no meaning and just do it for fun, and or for money. And why wouldn't we want them to be committed to that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what we're saying we want to be committed to.
Yeah, totally.
So that to me is the gift. If every single employee in every single organization was committed to that mission and wanted that mission to be a reality even more than money,
Mm-hmm.
just healed the whole planet. That's it. It's
I
done.
love that. Yeah.
So
And that's so powerful too, because like you alone in your business, having these strong values, having these strong views, no matter how political they are, having these things that you stand for, why would you not want the people on your team to stand for the same things?
right. And how could they do a good job if they didn't?
Right.
You know,
Because how could they actually see where you're coming from? Like they wouldn't actually align fully with your message. It almost feels like they would just be doing it for the sake of doing it.
right. And then they'll do a fine job, but then you have to be
Right.
like my dad and stand next to them and say, move your hand to the right, no, up a little.
Right.
Because their brain's not plugged in. Like the whole thing is, I think we have to plug your employee's brain into their sacral, like into their creativity. Your sacral is like where the birth of creativity and wealth and ideas and money, all that creation, babies, all that creation is there. If I can get your brain plugged into your sacral, then I've got God working for me.
Yeah.
Then I have everything.
That is beautiful. That also was a really cool visual that I just got that was like super sci-fi and woo at the same time.
Yes.
Which is everything I love.
Sci-fi, woo, this, everything in one place.
Everything in one place. What do you think is the biggest mistake that solopreneurs make when they first start to build their team?
Yeah, money. They think the answer is money, that if you pay for somebody, they should do a job. Even whether you pay more or less, whether you pay a freelancer or a VA in the Philippines or Serbia or India,
Right.
or you hire someone for $200,000, people think money is going to solve their problem. And so then they'll hire someone else and spend more money and still have the same thing.
Right.
They're not really tapping into their responsibility in the equation. It really does seem like I should give you money and you should do a good job.
Yep.
It's such a bummer that's not true. But that money is really an energy exchange. And so if the energy isn't right, the money is really going to not get the thing you want. You're literally paying to stay where you are because your head isn't really in the right place. Where your head is I want this problem to go away. If you're the CEO, you have to own the problem. You have to want the problem to be there.
Yeah.
You have to be able to say, oh, this is my problem, and I want to work with people to solve my problem, as opposed to I want to give you money and make the problem go away.
So true. So true. And I can see myself in that in the beginning.
So not just in the beginning, I see myself in it. Like a lot of the stuff in my book, this book is weird because I wrote this book for my team. I wrote it so they could understand like what the hell I was doing and what was the philosophy and why do we have such a weird hiring process. And, you know, people say it's a cult. Like, why is it a cult? I'm all in. It's a good cult. But so I wrote this book really for my team. But as I wrote it, I realized so many of these problems I've solved and found the answer to. In the moment, you can forget that you have the answer to it because someone's just annoying you or somebody just quits out of the blue or something. Like it's a spiritual practice managing people. Even if you're managing one part-time freelancer from Upwork, I will tell you that is a spiritual practice, and every interaction is a prayer and a chance to go deeper and a chance to step into your leadership more fully.
That's so true. In my business that I have now, it's been like working with my team can often highlight my shadows.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm like, thank you. I see this. I'm aware now. Now what do I do? So it's been a really awesome deep dive learning personal growth, leadership process that I continue to embrace. And yeah, I think when we try to just throw money at things to make things go away, it's totally bypassing our responsibility, which then also we're robbing ourselves of seeing the gift in that situation, the lessons in that situation. And so I love what you said about that. And that's like the biggest mistake that people make. Guilty. But with that being said, we are nearing the end of this episode. And I would love to know, let me see, what's a good question? If you could tell yourself one solid piece of advice way back when you started to build your team, what would you tell yourself?
Man, I never wanted to hire. I just wanted the problems to go away.
Mm.
And when I got busier, I just was like, take the pain away. I can't work any more hours. Take the pain away. The thing that I wish I could have told myself, because it probably would have saved me like 2 or 3 years if I knew,
Mm-hmm.
is love your team members, even if they're working on one project for 1 hour with you. But love your team members as much as you love your clients.
Mm.
It was so easy for me to love my clients because they paid me money.
Right.
So I'd get a new client, and even if it was for $99, I was like, I'm going to give you $99 of love. I'm going to give you $199 of love. Like, I was all in
Yeah.
with my employees because I was paying them. If I'm being totally honest, I was a
Mm-hmm.
little resentful. Like, you're
Mm-hmm.
taking my money and you're not fucking doing anything meaningful with it. I just gave you $99 and you gave me $10 back
Mm.
of work, maybe negative $10, maybe negative $99. Like, so it felt like this very even relation. Like, this relationship is fucked up and codependent. You take my
Yeah.
money and do nothing. But I never felt that way about my clients. And what I realized is what my employees give me is so much more precious than money. And that is their time. It's their chi, it's their life force.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my employees take my life force. My employees or my clients take my life force.
Right.
My employees give me their life force. They give me their energy. They give me their creativity.
Yeah. That's a great reframe.
So much more valuable than money. So when I realized, oh, all they're doing is giving their time, I have to show up so much more.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I made them irrelevant. I started loving them as much as I loved my clients, and everything changed.
Yeah, I love that. And I also want to thank you for your transparency, number one. And number two, I've also experienced that in the resentment when you pay. And I've done a lot of work on myself, and I've cultivated now a habit of really blessing my invoices and blessing the PayPal and blessing everything as it goes out, and really sharing why I'm thankful for paying it. And it's really helped to reframe things. But I never thought of it that way of, we love our clients because they're paying us, and we don't always reciprocate that same kind of love for our employees. And it's totally the money. I totally see that now. Yeah. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for that.
it's a great way to heal a money wound. Actually, having a business that is worthy of people begging to work there, there's no way to do that and not heal your money wound. I think a lot of times with like coaches and experts, we try and go solve problems in isolation. Like, I'm going to solve my love blocks or my money blocks or whatever. I love solving those problems while doing it. So getting a business coach to me is so much more valuable than getting a money coach alone, because you have to do it.
Yes.
You have to just like actually put yourself out there and do the work and let your shit come up and figure out that you're going to survive. You can let the stuff come up and you'll still live and grow and move forward. That's where we get stronger and better every day. And there's no finish line. That's like my final parting thought is like, there's no finish line. I think that's something I thought when I was younger. I'm going to get to $1 million and I'll be done. I'm going to get to $10 million and I'll be done. Like, there's no finish line.
No, we're never done.
We're done.
We're done when we're in the grave, really.
Yep.
That's it.
But even then, maybe not. So
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
Well, Angela, thank you so much for dropping such valuable truth on today's episode. And for our listeners, trust me, you're going to want to go grab this book. And Angela has been super generous in that you can download it for free. So the link is in the show notes for that. And if you want to connect with Angela, why don't you tell them what's like the best way for them to connect with you or see your stuff online?
Yeah. So my personal Facebook is actually me. Everything else is my team. So the business Facebook, my Instagram, that's all the team, but follow me. I have too many friends now, but you can still follow me on Facebook. So if you actually want to know what I'm doing, comment on my stuff. I'll comment back. That's the best way to connect with me.
Awesome.
If you want to find out about writing a book with us, the best way to do that is to go to theauthorincubAtor.com, 3 words, theauthorincubAtor.com. And there's a free masterclass up there. There's the application, there's free books. Check out some case studies. And that's the best way to actually work with me. So
amazing. So I'm going to have those links as well as a few other links so you can catch Angela's content on other platforms. But Angela, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you. And to our listeners, thank you for joining Angela and I on today's Thought Leader, where we are challenging you to rise up, speak up, and create a movement. If you dig this episode, please drop a rating and review and share it with a friend. If you have any questions for myself or for Angela, like Angela said, you can reach out to her on Facebook. You can reach out to me anywhere. My handle is @IamRuby, and I will see you back here on Monday for a fresh new episode of today's Thought Leader.